Pisces, there is something important you need to understand right now, especially if you've been questioning your intuition, replaying moments in your mind, or wondering whether you're imagining the depth of this connection. You are not misreading the energy. You are not projecting feelings where none exist, and you are certainly not alone in what you're sensing. This connection is not one sided. You may have felt it in subtle ways at first, a quiet pull, a lingering awareness, a sense that when you think about this person, the feeling doesn't dissolve. It stays. It settles into your chest. It feels steady rather than chaotic, and that steadiness is your first clue. One-sided connections feel draining. They create anxiety. They leave you questioning your worth. This does not feel like that. What you're experiencing now feels mutual, even if it hasn't been fully expressed yet. Pisces, you are highly intuitive by nature. You read energy instinctively, often before words or actions catch up. And right now, your intuition is responding to something real. This person is emotionally aware of you. They feel the connection too, even if they are processing it differently, even if they are quieter about it, even if they haven't found the right moment or language to express it. Mutual connections don't always move at the same pace on both sides. One person may feel first, the other may understand later. But the energy remains shared. It doesn't disappear simply because it's unspoken. You may notice that when you think of them, the feeling is not desperate. It's calm, curious, sometimes even comforting. That's because this connection is grounded in recognition, not lack. It's not about chasing validation. It's about awareness slowly rising on both sides. This person notices you more than you realize. They pay attention to your energy, even when they don't show it openly. They remember details. They feel your absence when you're not present. They sense your emotional shifts. And while they may not always act immediately, their awareness is there. Quiet, consistent, and real. Pisces. If this were one-sided, your intuition would feel unsettled. You would feel anxiety instead of calm, confusion instead of clarity. But what you feel instead is a strange sense of certainty, even without proof. That certainty comes from energetic alignment. You are not creating this in your mind. You are perceiving it in your body and spirit. This person may be holding back, not because they don't feel it, but because they do. Emotional depth can be intimidating, especially when it feels meaningful. Some people retreat not from disinterest, but from the fear of vulnerability. And Pisces, your depth has a way of awakening emotions others didn't expect to. They may be trying to understand what this connection means before acting on it. They may be weighing timing, circumstances, or past experiences, but their restraint does not cancel their feelings. It simply delays their expression. And that's why you feel the connection hovering rather than disappearing. You are both aware of each other, even in silence. There is an energetic acknowledgement happening beneath the surface, and that acknowledgement is mutual. Pisces, this connection is not about imbalance. It's about timing. It's about two emotional worlds slowly aligning instead of colliding. It's about awareness growing before action. In the next part, we're going to go deeper into how this person feels, why they may be holding back, and what signs show that the connection is actively developing on both sides, even if it hasn't been spoken aloud yet. Pisces, as this awareness settles in, you may begin to notice something very subtle but deeply telling about this connection. There is a sense of emotional mirroring happening between you and this person. When you pull back slightly, they feel it. When you focus on yourself, their energy becomes more noticeable. When you stop trying to understand the connection intellectually, it becomes clearer emotionally. This is not coincidence. This is resonant. One-sided connections do not respond like this. They remain flat, unresponsive, disconnected. This one reacts quietly, almost instinctively. That reaction is the clearest sign that what you're feeling exists on both sides. This person may not be expressing themselves openly yet, but internally, they are processing you more than you realize. You may sense moments when their energy feels closer, more present, more engaged. You may feel sudden warmth when thinking about them, or a sense of emotional closeness without communication. These are not imagined sensations. They are the result of emotional attention moving back and forth between you. Pisces, emotional attention is powerful. People don't focus emotionally on someone without reason. When someone occupies your emotional space repeatedly, it's because there is unfinished awareness between you. Something is being felt, explored, understood. And right now, this person is navigating that awareness internally, even if they haven't externalized it yet. They may be asking themselves questions they didn't expect to ask. They may be reevaluating what they want. They may be reflecting on how you make them feel and why that feeling stands out. Your presence has disrupted their emotional routine in a quiet way. This doesn't always show as immediate action. Sometimes it shows as hesitation, silence, or observation. People who feel deeply often take longer to move because they want to understand their emotions before acting on them, especially if they've been hurt before or if they value emotional safety. Pisces, This person does not feel indifferent toward you. Indifference feels empty. This feels full, even when unspoken. You may notice that your intuition remains calm instead of urgent. That's because you're not being asked to chase or force clarity. You're being asked to remain aligned with yourself while awareness continues to grow on both sides. This connection is developing beneath the surface, like roots before growth appears above ground. There is also something important to recognize about your role here. You are not meant to convince this person of anything. You are not meant to explain your worth or push for emotional response. Your energy alone has already done what words could not. It has awakened recognition, and recognition takes time to settle. Pisces, when someone feels something real but unexpected, they often retreat inward before stepping forward. They observe their emotions. They test their reaction. They notice whether the feeling fades or deepens. And in this case, it hasn't faded. It's becoming more defined. This is why the connection lingers. This is why it doesn't dissolve. This is why your intuition keeps returning to it calmly. You are both standing at the edge of awareness, not confusion. In the next part, we will explore what is holding this person back emotionally, why timing plays such a critical role here, and how you can remain aligned without creating distance or pressure as the connection continues to unfold. Pisces, as this connection continues to unfold beneath the surface, it becomes important to understand what is holding this person back, not as an obstacle, but as part of the process. Their hesitation is not a lack of feeling. It is a response to the weight of what they are feeling. Emotional depth requires emotional readiness, and not everyone arrives at that readiness at the same pace. This person is aware that what they feel towards you is different from what they've felt before, and that difference is exactly what causes them to pause. When something feels meaningful, it challenges old patterns. It asks for honesty. It requires vulnerability. And vulnerability is not easy for someone who has learned to protect themselves emotionally. They may be afraid of moving too quickly and disrupting their own balance. They may fear misreading the connection, even as they feel it strongly. They may be trying to understand whether they are ready to open themselves emotionally again. None of this diminishes the connection. In fact, it confirms it. If this were casual or insignificant, there would be no hesitation. Feelings would either be expressed freely or ignored completely. But this space you're sensing, this pause, exists because the connection matters. It carries emotional weight, and weight requires grounding before movement. Pisces, you may sense moments where their energy feels closer, almost as if they're about to step forward, followed by moments of stillness. This fluctuation is not rejection. It's internal process. They are negotiating between desire and caution, between curiosity and self-protection. And here is something important. Your calm presence plays a crucial role in this. You are not being asked to reassure them verbally or chase emotional clarity. Your grounded energy is already creating safety. By remaining aligned with yourself, not pulling away dramatically, not pushing forward impatiently, you allow this person the space to meet the connection honestly. This is not passive waiting. This is conscious alignment. Pisces, your intuition knows the difference. You may notice that when you focus on your own growth, your own peace, your own life, the connection feels stronger rather than weaker. That's because authentic connections are drawn to wholeness, not need. When you remain centered, you become a mirror of emotional stability, something this person is slowly learning to trust. They are watching how you move, how you hold yourself, how you respond rather than react. And this observation is changing how they feel. There is also an element of timing that cannot be ignored. The universe aligns connections when both people are capable of meeting them with awareness rather than projection. You are there, they are approaching it. This difference in timing is temporary, not permanent. Pisces, you are not ahead of them emotionally. You are simply more comfortable with depth. As their awareness continues to grow, the hesitation will soften. Clarity replaces fear when emotions are allowed to breathe. And the more this person feels that the connection does not threaten their autonomy or emotional safety, the more naturally they will move toward expression. This is why patience here is powerful. Not patience rooted in waiting for validation, but patience rooted in self-trust. You are not delaying your life for this connection. You are allowing it to unfold while remaining present in your own journey. And that is exactly what keeps the connection balanced instead of one-sided. In the next part, we will go deeper into the signs that show this connection is actively moving forward. Even if quietly, the emotional shifts, the subtle signals, and the moments where clarity begins to surface in ways you can feel rather than predict. Pisces. As this connection continues to mature quietly, you begin to notice signs that movement is already happening, even if it isn't obvious on the surface yet. Emotional shifts often appear before physical action, and right now, That emotional movement is unmistakable. The energy between you feels more present, more focused, more intentional than before. You may sense moments where this person feels closer to you emotionally than ever, even without communication. There may be sudden thoughts that feel mutual, a shared emotional state, or a sense that something is aligning behind this. These moments aren't imagined. They are indicators that awareness is transitioning into readiness. One of the clearest signs is how your intuition responds now. Instead of questioning whether the connection exists, you feel a quiet confidence that it does. Instead of wondering if you're being misled, you feel grounded. Instead of feeling pulled to act impulsively, you feel guided to remain present. This internal shift is critical. It means the connection is no longer destabilizing, it's stabilizing. Pisces, when something is one-sided, your energy feels depleted. When it's mutual, your energy feels supported. That difference matters more than any external proof. This person may begin showing subtle changes in behavior. They may reach out in small ways. They may linger longer in conversation. They may reference shared moments. They may mirror your emotional tone. These gestures may seem minor, but they are meaningful. They indicate emotional presence, not obligation. You might also notice that silence no longer feels like absence. It feels like space, intentional, thoughtful space, space where emotions are settling instead of fading. This is an important distinction. Absence creates anxiety. Space creates anticipation without fear. Pisces, this connection is no longer dormant. It's active, just understated. There is also a growing sense of mutual respect forming. This person is beginning to understand that your energy is not something to rush or take lightly. They recognize your sensitivity, your depth, and your emotional awareness. And rather than exploiting it, they are learning how to meet it with care. That learning process takes time. You may sense moments where they test the waters emotionally, offering vulnerability in small doses, sharing something personal, or expressing appreciation in ways that feel sincere. These moments are stepping stones. They show trust forming gradually, rather than all at once. And Pisces, your role remains the same. Stay aligned with yourself. You don't need to interpret every sign or decode every gesture. You don't need to search for certainty. The connection is already responding to your grounded presence. Your calm is allowing this person to approach without fear. This is the kind of connection that grows through consistency, not intensity. Through presence, not pressure. Through authenticity, not performance. You may begin to feel that the question is no longer, is this mutual? But rather, how do I remain true to myself as this unfolds? That shift in focus is powerful. It places you back in your center, where you belong. Pisces, this connection is not asking you to wait. It's asking you to trust. Trust the process. Trust your intuition. Trust the way things are aligning without force. In the next part, we will explore what happens when clarity finally reaches the surface, how communication may emerge, and how to navigate that moment without reverting to old patterns or emotional self-doubt. Pisces, as clarity continues rising, you may begin to sense that this connection is approaching a moment of expression, not a dramatic confession, not a sudden shift that disrupts everything, but a moment where understanding surfaces naturally. This is how aligned connections reveal themselves. They don't shock the system, they settle into truth. You might feel this change internally before anything happens externally. A calm readiness, a sense that if communication occurs, you won't feel overwhelmed or defensive. You won't feel the need to over-explain or protect yourself. That readiness is not accidental. It's the result of emotional balance forming with this person is moving toward the same point. They may be reflecting deeply on how they feel around you, noticing how their emotions respond when you're present versus when you're not. They may realize that your energy brings clarity instead of confusion, calm instead of chaos. That realization is powerful. It creates contrast, and contrast leads to awareness. Pisces, people don't ignore connections that bring peace. They may hesitate, but they don't dismiss them. As awareness deepens on both sides, communication becomes less about uncertainty and more about honesty. When it happens, it will feel natural, not rushed, not forced. It may begin with something simple, a check-in, a shared observation, a reference to something meaningful. But beneath that simplicity will be intention. You may notice that when you imagine this interaction now, your body doesn't tense, your breath doesn't shorten, you feel steady. That physical response is important. It means you are no longer operating from fear or attachment. You are present, Pisces. This is what emotional alignment feels like. This connection is not here to test your worth or challenge your boundary. It's here to meet you where you are now, emotionally aware, intuitive, grounded. And because you've done the work to arrive at this place, you are capable of navigating whatever unfolds with clarity rather than reactivity. If communication is delayed, trust that it's being refined. Timing matters. Emotional safety matters. The universe doesn't rush meaningful connections because it wants them to be sustainable, not fleeting. And if communication unfolds soon, it will feel different than anything you've experienced before. Less charged, more honest, less about outcomes, more about presence. Pisces, the most important thing to remember is this. You are no longer seeking confirmation from this connection. You are recognizing alignment. That shift changes everything. You are not asking whether they feel the same way. You are observing how the connection feels within. And right now, it feels balanced, grounded, mutual. As this chapter continues unfolding, you'll find that your intuition becomes even clearer. You'll know when to speak. You'll know when to wait. You'll know when to allow things to flow naturally. And that knowing will guide you more accurately than any external sign ever could. In the next part, we will explore how this connection integrates into your life moving forward, what role it plays in your emotional evolution, and how it supports, rather than disrupts, the path you are currently walking. Pisces, as this connection begins to integrate more naturally into your life, you may notice that it no longer feels like a question you need to solve. It becomes a presence you can acknowledge without urgency. This is a meaningful shift. When something is truly mutual, it doesn't demand constant validation. It simply exists, steady and recognizable, even when nothing is being said. You may find yourself less focused on outcomes and more aware of how grounded you feel within yourself. That grounding is not accidental. It's the result of emotional alignment, the kind that allows a connection to grow without destabilizing your inner world. You are no longer trying to understand where you stand. You are standing. This person feels that stability too. They may sense that your energy has changed, calmer, more centered, less reactive. That change creates emotional safety. It communicates without words that connection does not have to be overwhelming or risky. It can be supportive. It can be balanced. It can exist without pressure. Pisces, this is often when the deepest realizations occur. When the need to analyze fades, clarity rises. You begin to understand that mutual connections don't announce themselves loudly. They reveal themselves through consistency, through how they feel over time, through the absence of emotional turbulence. And right now, the absence of chaos is the message. You may notice that your intuition no longer asks, "Is this real?" It asks, "How do I honor this without losing myself?" That question reflects maturity. It shows that you're no longer willing to sacrifice your peace to explore connection. You are choosing alignment first and allowing everything else to follow naturally. This connection fits into your life without demanding that you rearrange yourself to accommodate it. That's another sign of mutuality. One-sided dynamics require constant adjustment. Mutual ones adapt organically. Pisces, you may also feel a growing sense of respect, both for yourself and for this person. Respect for your emotional boundaries, respect for their process, respect for the timing, respect for the unfolding. This respect is what allows connection to deepen without becoming consuming. There is also a quiet confidence emerging within you, not confidence rooted in certainty about what will happen, but confidence rooted in trust. Trust that whatever unfolds, you will remain aligned with yourself. Trust that you no longer need to abandon your intuition to maintain connection. Trust that you can remain present without being pulled off balance. This trust is transformative. You may notice that even if doubts briefly surface, they pass quickly. They no longer linger. They no longer spiral. That's because you're no longer operating from emotional insecurity. You are operating from awareness. Pisces, awareness changes the way everything feels. As this connection continues to settle, it may begin to influence your life in practical ways. You may feel inspired to make choices that reflect your emotional growth. You may feel drawn toward environments, routines, or paths that feel calmer and more intentional. This person's presence doesn't distract you from your purpose. It supports it. That support may be subtle, but it is real. You may also recognize that this connection doesn't define your happiness, it complements it. You are not depending on it to feel whole. You are allowing it to exist alongside your wholeness. That distinction keeps the dynamic balanced and healthy. Pisces, mutual connections do not require urgency. They require presence. And right now, presence is exactly where you are. In the next part, we will move deeper into how this connection continues evolving over time, how emotional clarity stabilizes rather than fades, and how this bond supports the version of you that is still becoming without pulling you backward or holding you in place. Pisces, as time passes and this connection continues evolving, you may begin to notice something deeply reassuring. It doesn't fade. It doesn't dissolve with silence. It doesn't weaken when attention shifts elsewhere. Instead, it stabilizes. It settles into a quiet consistency that feels dependable rather than demanding. This is one of the strongest indicators that the connection is not one-sided. One-sided energy fluctuates wildly. It spikes and crashes. It depends on reassurance. Mutual energy, however, remains present even when nothing is happening externally. And right now, that steady presence is what you're feeling. You may notice that when you focus on your own life, your responsibilities, your goals, the connection doesn't disappear. It remains gently in the background, not pulling you away from yourself, not distracting you, but existing alongside your growth. That coexistence is important. It shows that this bond is not competing with your evolution. It's compatible with it. Pisces, compatibility is not always loud. Sometimes it feels like peace. This person continues to feel you even when you are not actively engaging. They may sense your emotional state. They may feel a pull to check in mentally. They may find their thoughts returning to you during moments of stillness. This isn't because they are confused. It's because the connection has become emotionally familiar. Familiarity in this sense is not boredom. It's recognition. You may also begin to realize that this connection doesn't create emotional dependency. You don't feel anxious when there's no interaction. You don't feel restless or incomplete. Instead, you feel secure in the knowing that the bond exists independently of constant validation. That security is the result of mutual emotional presence. Pisces, you are no longer feeding uncertainty. You are allowing clarity to form naturally. There may be moments where you question why things are unfolding slowly. That question is natural, but notice how it doesn't consume you the way it once might have. You observe it, then release it. This is growth. It shows that you trust the unfolding more than you fear the unknown. This connection is teaching you something subtle but powerful, that meaningful bonds don't require urgency to remain alive. They require alignment, they require emotional safety. They require both people to arrive in their own time, and that arrival is happening. You may notice that your intuition feels especially grounded now. There is less emotional noise, less internal debate, less need to analyze. You simply feel steady. And steadiness is the emotional state where truth becomes most visible. Pisces, truth does not shout. It resonates. As this bond continues to integrate into your life, you may begin to see how it influences your sense of self. You feel more confident in your emotional awareness, more trusting of your intuition, more comfortable with vulnerability that is grounded rather than exposed. This connection is not pushing you to become someone else. It is supporting the version of you that is already. That support may show up in subtle ways. Feeling encouraged to speak honestly, feeling comfortable setting boundaries, feeling safe expressing your depth without fear of rejection. These shifts may seem small, but they are foundational, and foundations are what lasting connections are built on. Pisces, this connection is not asking you to pause your life. It's inviting you to continue living it authentically, knowing that alignment does not require sacrifice. It requires presence. In the next part, we will explore how this connection reaches a point of emotional confirmation, what that confirmation feels like internally, and how you'll recognize when mutual awareness fully settles, not through words alone, but through an unmistakable sense of emotional clarity. Pisces, as this connection reaches a deeper point of stability, something important begins to settle inside you. It's not excitement, not urgency, not longing. It's recognition, a calm, grounded awareness that what you're experiencing doesn't need to be questioned any. You're no longer asking yourself whether the connection is real. You're understanding how it fits into your life. This is where emotional confirmation happens. Not through dramatic words or sudden actions, but through how your body responds. Your breath stays steady. Your thoughts slow down. Your intuition feels clear instead of loud. That physical response is crucial. It tells you that this connection is no longer triggering old patterns. It's meeting you where you are now, grounded, aware, and emotionally present. Pisces, this is not what one-sided energy feels like. When something is one-sided, your nervous system stays alert. You feel tension, you overthink, you wait. None of that is happening now. What you feel instead is calm curiosity and emotional steadiness, and that steadiness is mutual. This person is reaching a similar realization in their own way. They may begin to understand that their feelings toward you have remained consistent despite time, space, or distraction. They may notice that no matter what they focus on, your energy remains present. That realization brings clarity, and clarity naturally leads to acknowledgement. Acknowledgement doesn't always arrive as a declaration. Sometimes it arrives as consistency, as emotional availability, as effort without pressure, as presence that feels intentional. Those are the signals that matter. Pisces, you may begin to notice that this person's energy feels more grounded when you sense them, less hesitant, less fluctuating. That's because their internal dialogue is quieting. They are no longer questioning whether the connection exists, they are recognizing it, and recognition changes behavior. They may become more emotionally open, more present, more intentional in how they interact with you, not because they feel obligated, but because they feel aligned. This alignment doesn't rush them forward. It anchors them. At the same time, you remain centered. You don't lose yourself in anticipation. You don't wait for proof. You trust the unfolding because you trust yourself. That trust keeps the connection balanced. Pisces, mutual connections don't pull you out of yourself. they meet you within yourself. You may also notice that your emotional expectations feel different now. You're not looking for reassurance. You're not trying to interpret every signal. You're allowing the connection to exist without micromanaging. That emotional freedom is a direct result of alignment. This connection feels natural because it's not built on fear or fantasy. It's built on awareness, on timing, on emotional readiness. And those foundations don't crack under silence or slow movement. As this awareness deepens, you may realize that the connection has already shifted you in meaningful ways. You feel more confident emotionally, more trusting of your intuition, more comfortable allowing things to unfold. These changes are not temporary. They are part of who you are becoming. Pisces, this connection is not something you are chasing. It's something you are allowing. And allowance is where mutuality thrives. In the next part, we will move into how this confirmation influences your future choices, how it supports your emotional growth moving forward, and how this connection becomes part of your life without overshadowing your purpose or independence. Pisces, as this confirmation settles more deeply, you may notice how it begins to influence the way you move through your life. Not in a dramatic way, not as a sudden shift that demands attention, but as a subtle recalibration of your emotional compass. You make choices with more ease now. You listen to your intuition without second guessing. You trust the signals your body gives you because they feel consistent and calm. This is where the connection begins to support you rather than occupy you. You may find that your focus naturally returns to your own path, your goals, your routines, your sense of purpose, and the connection fits into that rhythm without disrupting it. It doesn't pull you away from yourself. It doesn't distract you from what matters. Instead, it quietly affirms that you are allowed to experience connection and independence at the same time. Pisces, this balance is the clearest sign that the connection is mutual. When something is one-sided, it competes for your attention. It drains your energy. It creates inner conflict. This does the opposite. It stabilizes. It makes you feel more grounded in who you are. It supports your growth rather than stalling it. You may notice that your emotional boundaries feel stronger now, not because you're guarded, but because you're clear. You know what feels aligned and what doesn't. You know when to engage and when to rest. This clarity wasn't always there. It's something you've developed through experience, reflection, and healing. And this connection respects that clarity instead of challenging it. Pisces, respect is a form of love that often goes unnoticed, but it's foundational. As this bond continues to integrate into your life, you may also begin to see how it influences your expectations of connection more broadly. You're no longer willing to accept emotional inconsistency. You're no longer attracted to dynamics that feel unstable or confusing. You're drawn to steadiness, to presence, to authenticity. And this shift in attraction changes the quality of everything you allow into your life. This person senses that change. They may feel encouraged to show up more fully, not because you demand it, but because your energy invites it. When someone feels emotionally safe around you, they naturally become more present. They don't feel pressured to perform or impress. They feel allowed to be real. That allowance deepens mutuality. Pisces, mutual connections evolve through permission, not pressure. You may notice moments where communication feels more intentional, even if it's still subtle. A message that carries thoughtfulness, a response that feels considered rather than reactive, a silence that feels respectful rather than distant. These nuances matter. They show that both of you are navigating the connection with care, and care is a choice. You are also learning something important about yourself through this process. You are learning that you can remain open without being exposed, that you can feel deeply without losing your center, that you can allow connection without surrendering your autonomy. These realizations are not small. They mark a turning point in how you relate to others and to yourself. Pisces, the universe often uses connection to teach us how to stay aligned while being vulnerable. This is one of those moments. As you continue forward, you may notice that your inner dialogue has changed. You're no longer asking whether you're enough. You're no longer questioning your intuition. You're no longer trying to interpret silence as rejection. You're grounded in the knowing that alignment does not require constant reassurance. This knowing is quiet, but it's powerful. In the next part, we will explore how this connection continues to mature over time, how mutuality expresses itself in sustainable ways, and how you can continue honoring your intuition without disrupting the natural flow of what's unfolding. Pisces, as this connection matures, you begin to realize something profound. That true emotional alignment doesn't need to be proven. It reveals itself quietly, over time, through the way it endures, through the way peace replaces uncertainty, through the way your heart remains open, without needing constant reassurance. This is what real connection feels like. It breathes, it stabilizes, it grows roots in the unseen. This is not an illusion you created. It's an awareness you earned. You may look back at the version of yourself who once doubted, who once chased answers, who once mistook silence for indifference, and feel compassion instead of regret. That version of you was learning how to trust your intuition. That version of you is preparing for this moment when you could sense something so deeply and not question its validity. Pisces, that's what emotional mastery looks like. It's not about never feeling uncertain. It's about knowing that uncertainty doesn't mean danger. It's about holding emotional space for both yourself and another person without collapsing into fear or expectation. That balance is what allows connection to mature into something sustainable. You may find that this connection now feels less like a question and more like a quiet truth. You know it exists. You can feel it, not as tension, but as flow, not as longing, but as recognition. This recognition becomes a compass for how you navigate other relationships too. You are no longer chasing intensity. You are choosing peace, and that choice magnetizes energy that matches. The more you remain anchored in this awareness, the more your life begins to shift toward harmony. Conversations flow easier, interactions feel more authentic. People around you respond differently to your calm. That's because your energy is no longer scattered. You're not operating from fear of loss or rejection. You're moving from clarity. Pisces, clarity is magnetic. The person connected to you senses this as well. They feel your steadiness. They notice your presence, and that energy invites them to mirror it. They no longer feel pressure. They feel permission. Permission to be real. Permission to be gentle. Permission to open. That's the silent beauty of mutual connection. It heals through example, not demand. There will come a moment, perhaps subtle, where communication naturally happens. A word, a gesture, a message, or even a shared silence that says everything. When that moment arrives, it won't feel like a breakthrough. It will feel like recognition, as if both of you always knew, and the universe simply waited until you were both ready to honor it consciously. Pisces, you've reached a place where emotional maturity replaces emotional uncertainty. You can love without attachment. You can feel without losing balance. You can remember without pain. You can connect without confusion. This connection, whether it deepens further or remains where it is, has already changed. It has refined your intuition, strengthened your boundaries, and softened your understanding of love. It has shown you that the most meaningful relationships aren't the ones that demand the loudest gestures. They're the ones that bring peace to your spirit. And that peace is exactly what you feel now. You are learning that love can exist without control, without urgency, without the need to define every detail. You are learning that what is mutual will always find balance, even in silence. You are learning that the universe aligns what is meant to be when both hearts are ready to meet it with awareness. Pisces, the connection you feel is not one-sided because your growth itself has become part of the connection. You are both evolving through it. You are both being prepared by it. And whether your paths merge fully or remain beautifully parallel, the purpose has already been fulfilled to awaken awareness, to teach trust, and to remind you of the kind of love that doesn't take, but restores. Take a deep breath. Feel the calm in your chest. That is the confirmation. Not words, not proof,